Welcome to A Taste of Literacy, put on today by the Literacy Council of Northern Virginia and presented by Anthem Health Keepers Plus. My name is Rupal Saran and I am honored to be the Executive Director here at LCNV. And I am especially thankful to all of you for joining our celebration and fundraising event today. If you have been following along, you have gotten a few emails from LCNV since this morning highlighting the work we do to teach the basics of reading, writing, speaking, and understanding English to adults whose English is at the 6th grade level or below, so that they can more fully and equitably participate in the community. You will receive a few more messages from us today, and we hope you will open each of them and enjoy the inspiring stories of our learners, teachers, and volunteers, and all that they are accomplishing together. LCNV is honored to serve about 1,500 learners annually who come from 90 countries and speak 50 different languages. More than 80% of our students do not earn a living wage. Our adult learners are mostly women, and they are the parents to more than 1,100 children. The COVID-19 pandemic upended all of our lives, and in many ways, our students have been among the most vulnerable. Many work in service jobs that disappeared overnight, and many had to stop working to be at home with children who were no longer going to school. Our learners lack the English to easily identify and partake in resources that were made available during the pandemic, and many have shared stories about feeling lost and hopeless. LCNV quickly pivoted to offer all of our classes virtually and worked with hundreds of committed teachers and volunteers to get our students set up online, which for some meant learning to use a computer for the first time. We understood that in many instances, their communication with us a few times a week for many weeks at a stretch were among the few sustained interactions they had with someone who could help them navigate their situations. Students and teachers alike shared that classes were a joyous time during this time of isolation. These students are our neighbors, the people we meet in the line at the grocery store and the parents of our children's friends at school. By lifting up these tenacious members of our community, we lift up the entire community. As you can imagine, we need your support to raise funds in order to continue to serve our community in this way. And that is why we have planned today's A Taste of Literacy event. As of right now, we have raised a little over $42,000. Special thanks to our 20 literacy champions who have been fundraising for us through their personal contacts and connections. They have been instrumental in getting us this far in meeting today's goal of $50,000. Please help us get over this finish line with your donation today. And now I am excited to introduce the first part of our live A Taste of Literacy event. For many of us, including me, English is our first language, or we have been speaking it for a long time. How many of you have the experiences of being in a place where everything was in a language you did not know? How did you feel? And how long did you manage before running back to your English-speaking companions or looking everywhere for English translations? Today, LCNV's Associate Director of Teaching and Learning, Xavier Munoz, who oversees our wonderful teaching team, is going to give us a taste of what it's like to be in class, learning a language you don't know. Xavier, I'm turning it over to you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening from wherever you're joining us from. My name is Xavier Munoz, and we are going to sample a language lesson. So Karen students, you will be speaking with us. You'll be asking questions a little bit later today, but please for now, just wait and listen in if you'd like. This experience is not so much for you, our multilingual students, our multilingual friends, but rather community members who might be monolingual English speakers or maybe know many other languages, but they're going to be joining me in learning Japanese. That's going to be our sample language lesson today. They're going to be our pretend students. So LCNV students, just wait, enjoy. We will try to take a walk in your shoes through this experience. So joining me today, if you don't mind turning your videos on, if you'd like to keep them off, that's totally fine. But Jeff Ashley, Ruba, Will, Caroline, and Wafa. If you want to take this moment, thank you all. It's going to be very exciting. I'm glad that you're our students today. Some preliminary applause for you. This is not an easy thing, as we know. So everyone else, just sit back and enjoy, just so that everyone can see what's expected. So we have our participants and we have our audience. So if you're in our audience, just participate with us. I won't be able to hear you as the teacher. Your audio and video will remain off, and that's just fine. And then for our participants, Jeff, Ruba, Ashley, Caroline, Will, and Wafa, please participate actively and please be present during today's lesson. And at the end of the lesson, we'll ask for everyone's reactions to this language learning experience. Okay, here we go. こんにちは、皆さん。今日のクラスは日本語のクラスなんですね。私の名前はザビエルです。ザビエル先生と呼んでください。先生ですね。みんなお名前は何ですか？私の名前はザビエルです。お名前は？私の名前はザビエルです。お名前は？
ルバ。
ルバさんですね。はい。どうぞよろしく。はい。ルバさん、ありがとうございます。じゃあ、お名前は？
アシュリー。
アシュリーさん、どうぞよろしく。はい。お名前は？
キャロライン。
キャロライン、どうぞよろしく。キャロラインさん。じゃあ、お名前は？
ジェフ。
ジェフさんですね。はい。どうぞよろしく。じゃあ、お名前は？
ワファ。
ワファさんですね。どうぞよろしく。OK。で、お名前は？見えるかもしれないんですけど、ウィルさんですね。Will。
Sorry.
問題ないです。どうぞよろしく。Will さん。OK。今日のテーマはこちらです。食事の単語、注文する、つまり食べ物。今日のテーマは食べ物なんですね。はい。2つの目的があります。食事の単語で、2つ目は注文する。いろいろな食べ物がありますね。何を見えますかね、この写真で。ピザですよね。で、アイスクリーム。そしてタコかもしれないですね。ミュート解除、つまり話してくださいね。何の食べ物が好きですか？ルバさん、何の食べ物が好き？ピザが好きですか？
アイスクリーム。
アイスクリーム。はい、OK です。アシュリーさん、何の食べ物が好き？
ピザ。
ピザ ?OK。ピッツァ、ハンマス、サラダ、ステーキ、どっちでもいいですね。
ペペロニ。
ペペロニピッツァ、OK。ウィルさん、何の食べ物が好きですか？
タコス。
タコスが好きですね。はい、OK。ワファさん、何の食べ物が好き？ミュート解除、お願いします。
ピザ。
ピッツァ、OK。キャロラインさん、何の食べ物が好きですか？
アイスクリーム。
アイスクリーム、OK。じゃあ、はい。そして今日のクラス、ミュート解除、つまりこのアイコンですね。ミュート解除があったら、ぜひ話してくださいね。はい。ミュート解除。はい。じゃあ次、注文する。どうやって日本語で注文するのでしょうか？例えばカフェで、レストランで、どうやって注文するのでしょう？今日これは勉強しましょうね。まず、 みんなの言葉でどうやって注文するのでしょうか。例えば、アシュリーさんとウィルさん、スペイン語が話せますね。オラとか、コモスタ、スペイン語が話せますね。つまり、スペイン語でどうやって注文するのでしょう。メグスタリアをどうやって注文するのですか、スペイン語で。
Bakery.
はいはい、はい、この写真はベーカリーですね。はい。でも、この人たち、彼女は何々が欲しいんですね。つまり、オーダーしたいんです。スペイン語、ごめんくださいね。このクラスは日本語。Hi, my name is は英語。Hola, ¿cómo está? スペイン語。サラマレイクン、アラビア語ですね。スペイン語、Hola, ¿cómo está? スペイン語で何と言うんでしょう。Me gustaría tacos, ¿cómo así? お何と言うんでしょう、スペイン語で。
Me gustaría tacos.
OK, OK。ルバーさんとワファさん、アラビア語でどうやって注文するのでしょう、アラビア語。
أنا بحب بوزة.
OK? ワファさん、アラビア語で。
メニュー
ルーバーさん、ワファさんにちょっとお手伝いお願いします。
وفاء تقدري تتكلمي بالعربي. You can say in Arabic.
Oh, okay. قائمة طعام.
OK? で、キャロラインさん、ジェフさん、英語で、Hi, my name is つまり英語で、イングリッシュ。英語でどうやって注文するのですか？
I would like ice cream.
I would like。はい、その通り。ジェフさん、他のフレーズがありますか？ I would like や I want かな？もう一度お願いします、ジェフさん。
May I have pizza?
May I have? OK。じゃあ、日本語でどう言いますかね？注文するとき。まず例から聞きましょう。そしてこの例ではミュートしてお願いしますね。はい、ミュートして。この写真、サラダですよね。サラダ。で、ステーキですね。ステーキ。サラダとステーキ。で、このお飲み物はワイン。特に赤ワインですね。赤ワイン。サラダとステーキ、お飲み物、赤ワインですね。じゃあ、この会話を聞きましょう。この人、注文する。サラダとステーキ、赤ワイン。May I have? I would like. めぐしたりや。何と言いますかね、注文するとき。これを聞きましょう。OK。
Me gustaría una ensalada con un steak y una copa de vino.
Ah, qué bien.完璧ですね。スペイン語で注文したんですね。ウィルさん。はい、よくできました。じゃあ、ミュートお願いしますね。皆さんミュートで。はい。これから会話を聞きます。会話を聞きます。ミュートでお願いしますね。はい、OK。じゃあ、もう一回お願いします。よし、OK。この回はサラダ、ステーキ、赤ワインを聞きます。OK。
いらっしゃいませ。メニューをどうぞ。
どうも。
ご注文は、
サラダとステーキをお願いします。
はい。お飲み物は、
赤ワインをお願いします。
デザートは、
いいえ、結構です。
かしこまりました。
はい、もう一度聞きましょうね。OK。よし。
メニューをどうぞ。
どうも。
ご注文は、
サラダとステーキをお願いします。
はい。お飲み物は、
赤ワインをお願いします。
デザートは、
いいえ、結構です。
かしこまりました。
じゃあ何を聞いたんでしょう。お願いしますって言ったんですね。お願いします。はい。つまり日本語では2つの方法があります。お願いしますとください。もし注文したいときは、サラダお願いします。ステーキお願いします。赤ワインお願いします。I would like, may I have. めぐしたりや、日本語ではお願いしますを言いますね。はい、お願いします。で、2つ目の方法は、何々ください。ください。つまり、サラダください。ステーキください。赤ワインください。ですよね。じゃあ、もう一回聞きましょう。会話。よし。お願いしますを聞いておいて。
すみません。メニューをどうぞ。
どうも。
ご注文は、
サラダとステーキをお願いします。
はい。お飲み物は、
赤ワインをお願いします。
デザートは、
いいえ、結構です。
かしこまりました。
はい。じゃあ、それは、お願いしますの例を聞きました。はい。じゃあ、練習しましょう。OK。ちょっとごめんくださいね。はい、じゃあ、もしく単語が分かんなかったら、問題ありません。この写真とかでは、はい。この写真で指をさして、これお願いします。これください。だけで言ってもいいです。例えば、メニューがあったら、ごめんくださいね。ちょっと待っててね。OK。はい。メニューがあったら、これください。これお願いします。それだけでも OK です。指をさして、これください。これとこれお願いします。お飲み物は、これお願いします。それだけでも OK です。注文の仕方。はい。じゃあ、練習しましょうね。OK。OK。じゃあみんなと一緒にね、このフレーズを言いましょう。OK。じゃあ、ミュートではなく、ミュート解除。ミュート解除。はい。皆さん、よく聞いて、で、話してください。サラダ、お願いします。サラダ、お願いします。
サラダ
Talaga,
Onesiga.
じゃあ、
Talata, お願いします。
はい、ルバさん、もう一度お願いします。ルバさん。
Talata, お願いします。
はい、そうです。完璧です。お願いします。はい、そうですね。じゃあ、すみません。みんな、もう一回、ミュートでお願いします。ミュートで。じゃあ、聞いといて話してください。サラダ、お願いします。サラダ、お願いしますね。フレーズ、お願いします。はい、もう一回。お願いします。はい、そうです。じゃあ、これがサラダお願いします。はい、よくできました。じゃあ、これはステーキお願いします。キャロラインさん、ジェフさん、はい、よくできました。ステーキお願いします。
ステーキお願いします。
はい、そうです。お願いします。お願いします。 はい、そうです。はい。じゃあ、これはですね、赤ワインお願いします。みんな、赤ワインお願いします。はい、ちょっと緊張してるんですね。もしみんながこのクラスでは話してくれたらちょっと緊張になるので、ミュートの方が嬉しいんです。はい、じゃあもう一度練習しましょう。OK すいません。じゃあ OK。別のフレーズは特に役に立つですよね。もしアレルギーがあるのです。アレルギーって英語でなんて言うんでしょう。アレルギー、アレルギーって言うんですね。アレルギー、アレルギー。もしアレルギーがあったら何と言うんでしょう。レストランで、喫茶店で、カフェでアレルギーがありますね。この左はグルテンですよね。グルテンアレルギーです。グルテンアレルギーです。はい。みんな、この単語、グルテン、聞いて話してください。アレルギー。アレルギー。はい。これがアレルギー。アレルギーですよね。アレルギー。はい、そうです。アレルギーはちょっと違うんですね、発音。でも、アレルギーは日本語で話すんです。じゃあ、みんな、この写真は何でしょう？グルテンですよね。じゃあ、グルテンアレルギーです。で、この右の写真、魚、つまり、英語で何て言うんでしょう？ジェフさん、この写真、英語では何ですか？
エレギーアンデネスコ。
すいません。イングリッシュで何ですかこれ？
I'm
ピザ
allergic to,
タコス
I have a
なんでし
fish
ょう
allergy.
フィッシュ、はい、はい、フィッシュ。アラビア語では何て言うんでしょうこの写真、アラビア語。
サマク。
サマク、OK。じゃあ、日本語では魚、3つがあるんです。魚アレルギーです。魚アレルギー。はい。OK。よし。じゃあ、最後までちょっとビデオを見に行きましょう。この会話。レストランでどうやって注文する方法。OK。これが最後のものですね。はい。ごめんください。ちょっと待ってね。はい。OK。
あ、すいません。注文いいですか？
はい、お伺いします。はい。
これと、
はい。
これください。
はい、かしこまりました。
それからホットコーヒーも2つください。
お飲み物はお食事とご一緒にお持ちしますか？
食後にお願いします。
はい、かしこまりました。
はい、とってもシンプルな会話なんですけど、ください、お願いします。このフレーズと、そしてアレルギー、勉強しましたよね。はい、みんな、Thank you very much. 拍手、applause for our participants. We are finished. I think I see a lot of relief on our faces here right now. Thank you so much, Caroline, Ruba, Ashley, Jeff, Wafa, and Will. If you don't mind turning off your videos, we're going to move you back to the attendees, but we do want to hear your reactions, your thoughts on this experience. And our audience as well, everyone in the audience, we'd love to hear your thoughts too in the next minute or so. So in the Q&A box, if you would kindly, please tell us, how did that feel? What did that feel like, that lesson that we just took part in? If you want to type in some words for feelings or emotions, but tell us in the Q&A box that should look like this in the bottom of your screen, what did that lesson feel like? It was fast, very hard, was lost most of the time, and difficult and frustrating. Intimidating when you don't understand, but it felt authentic. Literally having a headache. No matter how much good food might appear on the screen, it can be rather difficult, right? To hear all of this language kind of being bombarded at you during a lesson. Wanting to press pause and rewind, great. Not great to feel that way, but this can be, right, what it can be like to experience a class. Thankfully, however, at LCNB, our classes are not 10 minutes, not 15 or 20 minutes, but more typically 2 hours long, and our excellent teachers build in much more time to have students feel more successful, and even with it being very difficult, to build in some breaks, to build in activities that are engaging. You know, with this class here, everyone stayed on mute for the most part, but gradually in an online class, we would invite students to unmute and to speak so we can hear them. But at the same time, there's a lot of benefit in just with mute on to practice saying it over and over, get the musculature of the mouth around those words. So if I may, just one final question before we continue on with today's events. For all of you, whether you're a participant or an audience member, how much of that lesson did you understand? Was it nothing, about 25% or less? If you want to let us know in the Q&A, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, I'm saying practice was very important. The pictures and the hands and gestures were very helpful. 25% or less, roughly nothing or nada. It was really hard, right? 20%. All right. So this lesson is intended to be this kind of experience, right? For us to have us walk in the shoes of beginning English language learners who come in with rich experiences and rich knowledge, but in a class that might be conducted only in English, it's really challenging. Thankfully at LCNB, we're able to recruit many bilingual volunteers to provide some native language support and provide those mental breaks, right? So that we can take a moment to just check and see what we're actually understanding or not understanding, what questions we might have, so we're feeling perhaps a little bit less overwhelmed. So Rupal, with that, I think I'm going to hand it back to you to continue on with today's events.
Thank you, Xavier, and thank you, learners. And to our audience, I hope that lesson drove home a bit of what it is like for our learners when they first start coming to our classes. They learn vocabulary, grammar, culture, and so much more. Imagine how it must be to have to conduct all your daily activities, from reading a bus schedule to explaining your health symptoms to a doctor, to understanding the emails coming from your child's teachers in a language you barely know. And then think of the pride that you feel when your English has progressed enough to make conversation and friendships with your neighbors and coworkers, or to pass your driver's license test. And then imagine that your English is even better, so much so that you can be an active part of your community, to the point of engaging with your elected officials and giving them a taste of what issues are important to you. We are so pleased today to welcome U.S. Congressman Don Beyer to an LCNB class. This class is led this semester by LCNB teachers Kathleen McCleary and Karen Schroth, and assisted by several committed class aides and conversation partners. You will now see Congressman Beyer and our teachers joining our call. Today, our students have the chance to ask the Congressman some questions on topics of interest to them. Thanks to each of them for joining us. Congressman Beyer, would you like to start by saying a few words?
Thank you, Rupal. I'm thrilled to be with you. When I signed on in the middle of the Japanese lesson, I was a little terrified. It reminded me of my honeymoon 34 years ago was in Tokyo. And I think one of the most desperate times I ever felt was in the Tokyo train station with my wife. And we didn't understand anything, not the numbers, and finally my wife shouted out, "Does anybody here speak English?" And happily people came to rescue us. But that desperation when you don't know the language. And I'm just so impressed with the people who commit not just to teaching, but to learning this. We lived in Switzerland for 4 years, and I practiced my German everywhere. And I would say hello in German, and people would always respond in English. And then I realized that I just needed to keep going in German. That it was only by the practice and practice that people would jump onto it. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I'll do my best to answer the questions of your wonderful learners.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Karen, would you like to go ahead and introduce our first student?
Welcome, Congressman Beyer. Thank you, Rupal. Paula has our first question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Congressman Beyer. Thank you so much for listening to our concerns. My name is Paola, and my question is, can immigrants get the COVID vaccine if they don't have a health insurance?
Yes, they can, Paola. There's no insurance requirement, and there's certainly no residency requirement. You don't have to be here legally in order to get the vaccine. We want everybody in the country and everybody in the world to get it. One of the challenges has been, if you have insurance, the clinic may well, depending on the clinic, go back to the insurance for reimbursement. But we've tried to make money available so that it's free for everyone that doesn't have insurance. I encourage you to get it as soon as you can. You look very young, so you're going to be in the last class.
Yes.
Hopefully by May 1st, it should be available to everyone.
Thank you so much.
And by the way, Paula, very quickly, we're going to get to the point where everyone who wants a vaccine has been able to get one, but there will still be many people who did not get it because they're left out of the mainstream of society. So anybody that you can help to get to the vaccine is going to be really helpful.
Thank you.
Our next question is from Wendy.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Congressman, teachers, and classmates. My question is this: how is the government working to help people who want to immigrate to the USA? Who can I get help applying for US residence for my husband who lives in another country?
Wendy, that's a very difficult question. We're coming off the last 4 years where unfortunately, the administration was very hostile to new people coming to the United States. And especially those seeking asylum. Under the new president, Joe Biden, we've dramatically increased the number of asylum permits coming in. But we still have the challenge of people who are relatives, husbands, brothers, sisters, children coming. And there's a limit per country per year. So if you're, I don't know of an example, but maybe you're the Maldives or something, you can get in right away. If it's the Philippines, it ends up being 25 or 30 years. So it just depends on the country that you're coming from. The great challenge right now, obviously, is coming from the Northern Triangle, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador. We are trying to get comprehensive immigration reform done in Congress. Last week, we passed a bill to give a pathway to citizenship for dreamers and a pathway to citizenship for the farm workers, the farm worker modernization. But we still have a lot more to do to figure out what do we do with the people, the many millions of people that are here with no papers? How do we give them a path to citizenship? And how do we make our immigration policy ever more humane, rational, and fair to everyone? So Wendy, I don't have a quick, easy answer for your husband. usually what we say is find the very best immigration attorney you can, or the very best immigration nonprofit to help you with the specific steps that you can do.
Okay, thank you.
Our next question is from Ignacia.
Oh, hello. Good afternoon, Congressman Bayer. Thank you for the opportunity to give us a chance to talk to you. It would be interesting to know what is your typical day look at your work? And thank you for, really, I appreciate your kindness to talk to us.
Thank you, Ignacia. My typical day
Yes.
usually starts about 8 o'clock and usually goes to 9 or 10 at night. I have a scheduler. I call her my evil scheduler because she tries to make sure that I don't have time for lunch or dinner. And so normally things are scheduled on a half-hour or 1-hour basis, but I'm on 3 or 4 different committees and many other different activities. So they, like, for example, this morning I had an 8 o'clock conference with the ARC, which is dealing with citizens with disability functions. And then at 9:30, a meeting on arms control, and at 10 o'clock, my staff meeting. And then, Ignacio, whenever there's a blank time, they put in money raising time. It's called call time. And so I had an hour and a half of that this morning, just calling people and asking them for money. It's probably the least important, fun part of the day, but it's necessary. And so you typically, I find that when they did a survey a couple of years ago that when you're in Washington, D.C., members of Congress work about 80 hours a week. And when they're home, they work about 60 hours a week. However, it doesn't really seem like work because it's so much fun and it's so fulfilling that, you know, it's not like laying bricks all day or serving customers all day. You're trying to do your best to change people's lives. And so it's not hard work. It's fulfilling.
Yeah, but you have to take care of your health. Your health is really
that's
important.
between 6:30 and 8 is to get on the bike or take a long walk with my wife and the dog, or
Good.
you do need exercise.
Awesome.
Our next question is from Rosa.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bayer. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to make a question for you. And my question is, what are you doing for increase the minimum wage in Virginia?
Rosa, I don't have the specific responsibility for Virginia. But if we can do it at the national level, it will force Virginia to step in place. And our Virginia delegates and senators have been trying really hard to get it to $15. So in Congress and the House, we voted to raise it to $15 by 2024. And I was very much for that and sponsored it and voted for it. It didn't make it through the Senate. The Senate, it had to get 50 votes and it only had 49 or 48. So now we're in the House again, probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we will again pass a standalone bill that just does the minimum wage to $15, and we'll send it to the Senate and try again. In the meantime, they're trying to get a compromise, which would be at $12. And if we get a compromise, I will vote for it because $12 is better than $7.25. It's not as good as 15. We also want to make sure that whatever we pass has an inflation clause in it, so it automatically goes up as the economy goes up, rather than having to wait 9 or 10 years. It's been since 2009. It's been 12 years since we did it, and it's really, really unfair.
Thank you.
But by the way, we've also put out, I chair the Joint Economic Committee. We put out 3 big papers in the last 3 weeks on why this is so good for the American people and for the American economy. By the way, every state that's done it is thriving. You know, they're doing really well economically, because when you give people more money to spend, they spend it, and then it bumps up everything else.
Our next question is from Lucas. Ready, Lucas? Our next question is.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Congressman. Good afternoon for all the teachers. I'm glad to be here. And then my question is the next one. Are you open to expand the size of the Supreme Court?
Yeah, Lucas, I'm open to that. But I actually have what I think is a better solution, which is to, to limit the Supreme Court terms to 18 years and stagger them every 2 years. That way, every president per term would have 2 Supreme Court justices. And you give them lifetime benefits, and they can't be reappointed. Because right now, well, 5 or 6 of our 9 justices were appointed by people who didn't even win the popular vote. And you get, it depends on who can live the longest or what's the youngest person they can appoint. It'd be much fairer just to say 9 justices with 18-year terms, each per president, and take it from there. Also, I think that the idea of increasing the size of the court, people think of it as court packing and see it as sort of fundamentally unfair gaming, and we don't want it to be on anyone to think of it as an unfair process.
Yeah.
Isa?
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, thanks, Lucas.
Faiza has our next question. She wanted to ask what is the hardest part of your job, Congressman Beyer?
The hardest part of my job, I think, is disappointing people. That so many, it seems like every phone call and every email and every text message I get is from somebody who needs something. That's why you're in Congress, is to help people solve the problems in their lives. And some things are easy. You know, we do 60 or 80 cases a day that we're able to successful on. And then some things are really hard, so that when, you know, Rosa asks about the minimum wage, and I have to say, well, we passed it in the House, but we can't get it through the Senate. It's really disappointing. Or someone says, I want to get my husband in, you know, how do I get him a green card? And I don't have an answer. Or the answers take sometimes months or years to evolve. You have to be really patient and take the long-term view, because in the short run, we're often just telling people, I'm sorry, we're doing the best we can today. Someone once told me that when you pray to God, sometimes he says yes, sometimes he says no, but mostly he says wait.
Thank you for your continued efforts. Erhan.
Erhan, we can't hear you yet.
Erhan, are you muted?
Hello.
Yes. Ask the question.
Good afternoon, Mr. Beyer. My name is Arhan Tomar. My question is, another immigrant from my country arrived at the same time as me about 5 years ago. He's staying in New York, and I left New York and moved to Virginia a couple of years ago. We both applied for asylum case. He received a green card a couple of years ago, but I am still waiting. No one can explain why my wait has been longer. Thank you.
Yes, back to the previous question, Erhan, about the things that are hard, and I can't explain it to you either. Sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes a different case officer in New York looked more favorably on your friend's application than the case officer here. Sometimes it's just a black box. However, you know, if you want to call my office, we have a wonderful young woman, recent James Madison graduate, who tracks down all the immigration and asylum cases. Zena, I'm sure she will do her best to try to figure out the status of your case right now.
Thanks so much.
And our last questioner is Nadia. So Nadia, unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question if you can. Nadia's question had to do with.
Hi.
Go ahead, Nadia, ask your question.
Yes. Hi, Peyton. How are you? Nice to see you. Why the employee advice an hourly rate for an open position that lower the rate when they make an offer of the employment? Can this be stopped? And also, what are you doing to add parks, swimming pools, and open spaces for the residents of our community?
Great. Thank you, Nadia, very much.
You're welcome.
I'd like to know the specifics of that case where someone advertised the job at, $15 an hour and then only offered you $10 an hour.
Yes.
I think there probably are laws in place right now to stop that, but we'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. It's clearly the wrong thing to do. By the way, Nadia, this is part of an overall trend, trying to make sure that employers don't ask you what you were making now or what you made in your previous job. Because when you do that, it pushes all the salaries down. They need to pay you for the job, not based on your previous salary history. That, by the way, is a huge part of the reason why women are still only making 80 cents for every dollar that a man makes. Because too often they base it on a woman's previous income, and so you never have a chance to catch up. So again, Nadia, if you can get that information to my office, we will follow up on the specific case. And on the parks, one of the best things we did last year was to make something that's been around for a long, long time called the Land and Water Conservation Fund, LWCF. We permanently authorized it for the rest of our lives. And we said that all the $900 million a year that's in the authorization will actually be coming to that. So this money gets distributed to all the state and local governments to do parks and pools and anything they want that's in the idea of creating open space and recreational space, the whole idea of no child left indoors. The money, by the way, comes from the onshore oil and gas industry. They pay a little fee for every bit of fossil fuel or gas that they do, and it goes into this big fund so much of the parks that we see in our country have been funded by the Land and Water Conservation Fund over the years, but we just tripled its size and made it permanent.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Answering.
And Karen and RuPaul, if I hope you can distribute our office number, maybe through chat or whatever, for the people that need follow-up.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. Great. Thanks again. Thanks so much, Congressman Beyer. And thank you to our students for coming up with these absolutely fabulous questions and being a part of this very, very special day for the Literacy Council. That wraps up. Yes.
Can I add one thing too? Because I see those books behind you. If I have one old person advice for all the people on this call who are learners, is to read as much as you can. And especially read in English, since this is where you've chosen to live. It really, really improves all of your language skills. And there's all this new evidence that when you read stories, when you read fiction, it makes you much more empathetic. It makes you a better human being to read a lot of fiction. You understand other people's troubles much better. You're more hopeful, you have better imagination. And it's also, if you're gonna read, might as well get a story out of it rather than something dry.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks for that advice. For our audience today, that wraps up our live A Taste of Literacy segment for today. We truly appreciate all of you for taking the time from your schedules to join us. And we hope that we have given you a taste for what we do and what we can do with your continued support. Looking at donation numbers, we are getting close to hitting our goal. Before you jump back into the rest of your day, will you consider giving to LCNB so that we can continue to do this work that we are so privileged to do? As I said earlier, you will receive a few more emails from us today with more informative and inspiring stories of our students and their successes. Enjoy these messages. We hope they put a smile on your face. I would like to once again thank and recognize Anthem Health Keepers Plus and all of our generous sponsors for making today's event possible. Thanks to all of you for your encouragement and for helping LCNB to be a force for change in our community. Enjoy the rest of your day.